Oh, what's up, folks? I'm Odd, by the way. So, I feel like it's been a minute. It hasn't totally, but I feel like it has. Since I've just sort of sat down, popped on a podcast, and just drawn. Especially so with fan art stuff. I have a few fan OCs, original characters, that I've made for stuff that I like in the past. It's not something that I do very frequently, and it's not something that I really do much anymore. I have way too many of my own characters to be worried about fan art. But I do have some characters that I quite enjoy. And in this case, I'm going to be adding a little bit of challenge onto it and trying to draw them in the original style, at least as closely as I can to the media that I'm bringing them in from. First up, I'm going to go for MLP, My Little Pony. In this case, specifically Gen 4. I haven't watched any of Gen 5 yet, don't come at me, okay? But I made these two basically in tandem back in more or less the height of the Gen 4, fandom phase, right? My first is I call her my toothpaste pony or my Pink Floyd pony in my head, and you'll see why. And listen, I see it. I do. And I agree. Okay, but nobody gets to make fun of my characters but me. Her real name is Glass Prism, and I made her inspired by the phenomena of white light going through a prism and CYMK, which make all of the colors. That's what the Dark Side of the Moon album cover is referencing, okay? It's not specifically Pink Floyd, but I understand the reference. You know, my dad likes it, so it works. But with the weight of the whole thing and the specific colors that I chose, she turned a little toothpastey. Initially, I thought that it was a main brand, but a lot of them have moved actually away from that colorful stuff, so it's more I guess just pharmacy brand tricolor toothpaste at this point. And I guess if I'm referring to her correctly, her name is Glass Prism, but I should call her Dr. Glass Prism. I don't know if ponies can get PhDs, but she definitely has one if they can. She might have them if they don't exist. There are doctors there, right? They have to get PhDs or MDs, right? Right? Anyway. But as most, I guess, scientists, I would assume, are, she is very tied up in her work. She's very perpetually tired. Definitely a coffee hound. Forgets to sleep a lot of the time. She hyperfixates on quite a few of her experiments and forgets that she has mortal needs. She's also a unicorn, so I guess technically she might not have the same needs, but she still has those needs. Enter Paisley Tapestry. Paisley is a mulicorn. Her dad is a donkey, and her mom is a unicorn. Their relationship didn't actually end very well. It was sort of a star-crossed situation, but it ended in kind of a tumultuous, way of, one partner going back to comfort, it being her mom, who is the unicorn. So Paisley kind of learned how to make the best of a bad situation, and she's particularly good at it. Now, mules, as they are in Gen 4 of MLP, don't have butt stamps, they don't have the cutie marks, but I figured there aren't really any canon mulicorns. So I figured that because of the influence of magic, at the very least they could. Which is also kind of why Glass gets that initial interest in her, because she's kind of in a magical anomaly of sorts. And she isn't all that great at magic, at least not under pressure. She is very good at, household stuff, doing things with her hands. That's where a lot of her, talents lie. Yeah, so she's the type of person, though, that could, lift a pony, I guess. That could lift a dresser to dust under it, but she could barely ask a pen if she's asked just specifically to do magic. If you haven't noticed, these two are kind of just two sides of my personality to some degree. But they're their own characters, okay? And they have a cute relationship. Glass and Paisley do kind of have this symbiotic relationship because Glass is oh, I can have this anomaly around and have an assistant, and Paisley is I need to help this woman or she will die of sleep deprivation or exposure. So they're perfect opposites, you know? As I said, I decided to go with Gen 4 style because I have not been really interested in investigating Gen 5. I like cartoons. I haven't been very interested in a lot of media in general lately. It's just been kind of YouTube videos for me. Not making them, but watching them. I mean, making them too, but my main source of content right now seems to be coming from YouTube. There's so much to see. And I tend to get into stuff really late anyway, and nobody on the internet has totally bullied me into it, so I assume it's a fairly small fandom if it's out there. I don't think you could ever recapture what happened with Gen 4. That was just an era of crazy creativity, like perfect timing for whatever creative sorts were going into that field. Just blew itself out of the water, and you can't capture lightning in a bottle like that every single time. And that's cool, you know? Sometimes things don't need to be for everybody. Alright, next up we have Pokemon. I've actually made a Pokemon OC that's like a Pokemon and not necessarily a trainer. And at some point, it was totally inspired by a possibly bootleg toy that I saw at a comic book shop once. It was an Espeon, but for some reason it had all of the Umbreon embroidery on it, like the facial expression, the red eyes, the little like light circles that it has all over its body. I didn't wind up getting that, although I wish I would. It was when I was like a teenager, so it wasn't at the time that I had my own personal income. Despite the fact that I didn't get it, I did get inspiration. I love this concept of the things in the actual Pokemon world being different than in the games. So like something like evolution canceling maybe isn't really a thing. So my OC, and his name is Nightshade. He leveled up from an Eevee with the intention of becoming an Umbreon. But basically, one particular fight lasted into the sunrise, and he evolved, like, got that final level and evolved into an Espeon, which, like, I've had that happen before, actually. Maybe in reverse, but I've definitely had it happen that an Eevee accidentally evolves into an Umbreon or an Espeon, and I was like, oh, geez. Usually, I'm able to soft reset. Like, I don't even notice the silhouette change until things, really turn out. But obviously a trainer in the actual Pokemon world couldn't do that. There is a lot of like angst surrounding this with him for a while, as kind of like his story is more of one of like I guess like self-acceptance and kind of figuring out like, oh, I've grown up into this person and I don't know who this person is, kind of thing, right? But obviously Nightshade's person still loves him. It's kind of more just an internal affair with him personally figuring out that for himself. And honestly, Espeon is the better of the two competitively. Just saying. I love Umbreon, like, aesthetically, and that's kind of where it came from, because initially I didn't really like Espeon, but I gained kind of an admiring from it, actually, from when I started playing competitively, because Espeon was not my original idea for an evolution, but it became one of my more favorite ones. Still love Umbreon and its shiny form, especially. That's like my favorite thing. I think this particular piece became my favorite of the three that I wound up doing. I love the vibe. For some reason, he's in the white room. I just kind of let that come out of itself and did a random small background. It kind of reminds me of like the GameCube games, so Colosseum and XD Veil of Darkness. I grew up with those, so that's like my perfect, that's like perfect for me. And Umbreon and Espeon are big symbols of that game, aren't they? Yeah, I think the main character in, is it Colosseum, has an Umbreon and Espeon? Something like that. Now, his torn up ear actually came from my own Espeon plush, who had a bad run-in with our puppy and got torn up. It's especially metal, though, because those whiskers are supposedly super sensitive. That's where they get a lot of their, like, psychic sensory abilities, I guess. He's totally one of those Espeons who has Shadow Ball as a coverage move. Is that still a thing competitively? It's been a while since I've actually had a Pokemon fight. I was big on Showdown for a while. Like, I wasn't good, but I liked it. Okay. So I know I mentioned that I was doing my own OCs, and technically this is, but we're ending on a totally new character design. And I don't know if I really like it. Not to throw you off at the end here, but I had sort of a mini Sonic kick after watching a Frontiers playthrough. I was never really the big Sonic person in my family. I got a lot of like, I like it from like experiencing it through my little brother, who was really into it for a while. And I like the characters. I think that it's definitely like a fascinating fandom with its own like really interesting like relationship with the characters in and of itself. I think that a lot of people in it are very self-aware, but at the same time, it's something that I've kind of just like observed silently from the distance. I tend to sort of lurk around something that I'm interested in and come in like way later than it's popular, and then I never really interact with anyone from the fandom. Regardless, I'd have thought. Sonic has its fair share of strange animal designs: hedgehogs, echidnas, bee, robots. Are there any platypus? Based off of the relatively small amount of research I did, it didn't seem like they do. I decided to take a crack at it myself. Probably not the best idea considering the fact that I have no clue what the style is like, that I've never done it before. This one is definitely the crustiest because of it. And I really like the idea. I like the character, but I'm obviously not the best at something that I never really decided to draw before. My concept was originally just duck-billed platypus, but I realized that I could add in as I went. Did you know that male platypi are venomous? Like, seriously, what is this creature? So I thought the name Barbs would be cool. Kind of goes with the naming conventions, right? Barbs the duck-billed platypus. He's especially effective with his venom and maybe acts as sort of like a water-based character. He's definitely going to be a great swimmer with his webbed feet and tail. He also wears a wetsuit most of the time. Considering the fact that his animal inspiration is Australian, he's probably also would be a pretty good surfer. I mean, if he's right by the coast like that. Not that... I guess platypus come from like Tasmania and stuff, which is an island, so there's like coast all around. Yeah, dude could catch some good waves. So yeah, he's like a swimming surfer bruiser assassin. Multifaceted and weird, just like his species inspiration. Finally, Knuckles has another egg-laying mammal to commiserate with, which is another weird thing. They lay eggs. Females, but like, and then also lactate from the top. What are these animals? What are these animals? I'm sorry, Barbs, I don't know if you wanted to be brought into this world. Those were my 4 attempts, because I did Paisley, okay. Alright, so those were my 4 attempts at doing other styles with my own OCs. Which one is your favorite? I'm still really partial to Nightshade. I think that he turned out kind of like an old style like Pokemon card, and I love him. I don't know what exactly I don't like about Glass and Paisley's. Like, obviously it's cute, it's adorable, I don't know. Maybe it's just that I'm not used to that particular vibe, but like, it definitely doesn't totally suit the show style either, and it's just not necessarily them, so it just kind of feels like nothing. I don't know. I'll draw them later and have a better, like, reference for them as how I draw them sooner or later. And they're definitely still cute together, and I'm glad to have, like, some sort of new reference for them and, like, their cutie marks and, like, how their designs work overall. Because it's been a while since I've drawn any of these characters. And yeah, Barbs is fine. Like, I like the idea, I really do, I just need more practice. I realize that this is kind of a wide range of fandoms, but I hope even if you don't follow all 3 of them, and I mean, I don't fully follow all 3 of them, at least not anymore, I hope that you had a fun time. I know that I did, even the results weren't necessarily ideal for all of them. Let me know which fandom or which style you like, if any, or any cool art challengey ideas you have in mind. Give this video a like if you liked it, and subscribe for more fun art stuff. My first goal is going to be 50, which I am very close to, and I have a poll up in the community tab for ideas to celebrate it once I get there. Please vote at the poll. Please vote at the poll. It's right there. Come say hi. Anyway, at that, I will leave you here, and I'll see y'all next time.